Hiya folks, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. My name is Danny, aka Baltic, and this is the first video I've ever posted. Wowie! Never thought I'd actually get around to saying that. This is something that I've wanted to do for years. First and foremost, folks, I am a massive fan of The Sims 4, so primarily that is what's going to be on this channel. Rebuilds, remodels, furnishes, lifestyle plays, let's plays, you name it, I'll try and find it and create it and put it on this channel for you. But as I say, 3, 4, 5 years in the making, I've been wanting to do Sims 3 content and Sims 4 content, but now I've finally gotten around to doing it, so this is my first video. So, a little bit about the build then. This is number 17, Culpeper House, or it is in San Myshuno, and that's what it is originally named, although I'm pretty sure I'll be changing it in my build. Not too sure what I'll call it just yet, but I will link it in the description below. I've decided to remodel this based on my idea for an amazing Let's Play on the upcoming Sims 4 pack, The Sims 4 Get Famous. I'll preface all of this with a little bit more information about myself, if I may be so self-absorbed, I mean bold. So, for the past 5 years, I've been training to be a part of the TV and film industry since leaving high school. From college, university, I've been studying media and media production. I got into TV as a runner, and with the tools that we're going to be getting in Get Famous, I feel like all of the stories that I've been present for are finally going to get their chance to actually be retold through The Sims 4 using all of those amazing new costumes and objects and people. So if that's the sort of thing that you would like to hear in the future, especially regarding the Get Famous pack when it comes out at the end of this week, please do hit that subscribe button and smash that bell. Oh wow, I wanted to find out what saying that would be like for a while, and I'm not happy with the result. So that's not going to happen again. Anyway, I'm rambling. Back to my point. This is the rising star, in air quotes, apartment. The inspiration for this is basically every apartment that I've lived in up until just about this year. From going to the smallest and dankest and grossest apartments where you literally only live there because you physically have to. I couldn't afford much growing up, especially with university and wanting to make myself a name in my profession. So I was doing a lot of jobs for free and making sure that people knew who I was, etc. And that led to having very minimal funds. Thankfully, these sort of places that I lived in, had people who I lived with, who were characterful to say the least. And a lot of those characters and personalities have made their way into the sort of people who I've had an inspiration for in this build, actually. So when I've actually used this in my game, there are 2 Sims who I've populated with, and you'll actually see them both in the screenshots. One of them is a sort of rough and rugged musician type who I'm sure would be a hit with any fan base. And my idea is to get them started in this lot and then see how much money I can make to do the place up and then move into a penthouse once I get famous. You see the link here? Again, if that's the sort of thing that you folks would want to watch, sound off down in the comments to let me know, and I will get to preparing that immediately. Very aware of the fact that I only have several days left before all of the stuff releases, and if I'm right in believing, this will be released on the day of the update for terrain tools. A bit weird that I'll be talking about terrain tools in a build while I'm building an apartment, isn't it? However, I should be talking about it because I'm so excited. Oh my days, The Sims 3's terrain editing tools gave me so many different options for building houses, and unfortunately, I never had the guts to actually record any of those houses, so there's no proof of me ever having done them. But I can remember a lot of them from memory. Of course you will remember them from memory. Why would you remember them from anywhere else? Anyway, I have them committed to memory, and I really want to start recreating a lot of them. So probably after this build, if not tonight being the night of the release, then maybe tomorrow when you're watching this, or whenever, there will definitely be a second build straight up as soon as physically possible with my idea of terrain editing. Anyway, back to the build. So what I'm doing now is decorating the foyer entrance of the place, and I really wanted to strike the idea as soon as you walked in that this was a grotty apartment. The 2 guys who live here, the 2 Sims that I've designed to live here anyway, I imagine have just thrown up all of these posters on the walls to hide the cracks that they might have done from rowdier nights out. There's a little bit of water damage, spider webs, the lot, you know what I mean. But I want the whole place to feel so crowded, and as I've just taken out all the lights actually, putting that one light and the candles over there has made it feel so much more intimate. when I'm designing lots on a massive scale, I'm sure a lot of you folks can identify with this as well. I'll just stick out the tiny little ceiling lights so that everywhere's washed out and everywhere looks as bright as possible so I can get the colours right. And then I want to get rid of all of those and put more detailed lighting in. But sometimes the way that all the lights are programmed makes it look like really yellowy. I think you can change it in the game settings. If you can, please shout out down below so that I can actually make better builds for all of you folks, because I will endeavour to do so. Speaking of, actually, if there's anything that you folks want to know with regards what I can build, I'm thinking of a way to try and showcase the stuff that I've been playing on in the game that hasn't necessarily been recorded in a way that will be interesting for you folks to watch. So is there anything that you have ideas of? In my head, I was designing this sort of like through the keyhole idea where I would make a sim, do the whole CAS video with you folks, and oh, maybe I could actually stream it. I do have a Twitch channel, it'll all be linked at the end. So if you folks are into Twitch streams, do let me know, and I will be making sure to get that scheduled as soon as possible for you all. But I digress, back to what I was saying. I want to make sure with this build that the overall aesthetic is just gross. Oh, actually, sorry, I just realised as I'm watching this that little flamingo is a tiny personal nod to me and my fella, because in our apartment we've got this little plastic flamingo lawn thing, and it's something that I always giggle about because Chris had it before he met me, and we've still managed to keep it up on the shelf with all of our other various bar knickknacks. And every time I look at it, I just wonder what the story was between where he found it, where he put it, and how it ended up here. If you folks have any trinkets like that at home, let me know down below in the comments. But back to the build. So one thing I did want to talk about was the floor plan for this build. As I was saying in the beginning of the video, or maybe I didn't, maybe I cut it out. Honestly can't remember at this point, I'm really just winging this. But the floor plan for this particular apartment on the San Myshuno lots is really difficult in the way that the windows are placed. So I was trying to make sure that this living area here was as open as possible and didn't feel like you physically couldn't move. Maybe you couldn't because of the amount of stuff that's in there, but it didn't feel actually oppressive. So I had to make sure that you could get to all of those windows, hence that little divider. Hence, did I just say hence in a video? Wow. Which explains that divider between the kitchen area and the piano area, just to give it a little bit more of an aesthetic feel, so it does feel like there's a kitchen section while keeping all of that lovely space in the middle for that moth-eaten carpet. Talking of the moth-eaten carpet, actually, it's one of my favourite things in the game, especially Sims 4, how detailed the textures are, especially when they're meant to look rough. All of the decals that came with the Vampires game pack are amazing. I love sticking them in the old Victorian style houses, just like behind something that you would stick up on the wall, or like behind the curtains, so like little cracks and stuff that clearly Sims have tried to hide in their decorative talents, but quite clearly have never gotten around to just fixing. So the room that we're designing now is actually one of the few exceptions to the rule of the way that I wanted to decorate this lot. Obviously, there is still that grimy wallpaper on the walls and there's quite empty floorboards in the middle, but the one sim that lives here really doesn't have anything to do with the other sim. It's sort of like, have you imagined if you don't quite have enough money to live somewhere by yourself, so you just post an ad on the internet and you say, listen, I'm never going to be at home, you get to live here for half the rent and you get the run of the place while I'm out. That's sort of the deal that I imagine these two sims went under. And so the little fellow who lives in this room is just making his private space as nice as he physically can, because that is his sanctum. Again, something that I can definitely relate to. At home in our apartment, the living room is where I do all of my editing work and my Mac's in the middle, and everyone obviously who comes around can still talk to us while I'm doing jobs. But the bedroom is like strictly off limits for work. I try and turn the phone off. I try and get as much sleep as physically possible because, weirdly enough, neither me nor Chris seem to sleep like normal human beings. But I suppose in the year 2018, who does? Who is normal? What is normal? Is you normal? Who can say? But the important thing to continue discussing, as I always say, is this build. So I'm placing those pickets on the wall now, the picket signs. I've never actually used them in-game, but I have seen a lot of Sims wandering around the San Myshuno area, just like pulling them out of nowhere and starting to shout about nothing. I feel like that is so reflective of the sort of stuff that I see when I'm walking around town where I live. just people getting really angry with big signs that don't actually explain what they're angry about, but they say something really funny so that someone can take a picture and make it a meme. You gotta ask yourselves, are these people really picketing, or are they just loitering? Who can say? Oh no, I feel like if I say that more often, that's going to end up being something that I say all the time. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not. Who can say? Sorry, this is just turning into an absolute train wreck, but I hope you've enjoyed the ride so far. I think we're just about finishing up actually with the rest of the build. All I'm doing now is putting in the tiny little details, the extra bits of lighting, etc., and making the whole place look as lived in as possible. Ooh, the fish bowl is something that, again, I have never used because, spoiler alert, unfortunately, I have never had a reason to play with a sim who fishes. So, what I'm definitely going to ask at the start of this video, because I know it's going to be something that might not interest a lot of people, but I need ideas for Let's Plays. If you can sound off down below any story arcs for a fisher sim that you might want to see. I feel like I did a pun there with story arcs and fish, but it's a reach. But it's a reach I'm willing to take. And we'll leave that there. In this back corner now that I'm looking at, I can't remember specifically what it was that I placed in the... yes, it was meant to be a game table. However, I didn't know quite how the game table worked and whether you needed 4 people to play on it or not, and there's clearly nowhere near enough space there, so I did end up getting rid of it and placing something that I feel would be much more at home in the apartment of 2 young adult Sims. Sorry, cough. The bathroom. I didn't actually see whether we decorated it in this video. If I've taken it out, I do awfully apologise, but I'm pretty sure I needed to take a lot of stuff out with regards to time constraints. However, at least you're getting a look at it now. It's nothing fancy, but it really needed to not be anything fancy. This looks exactly like a shared bathroom that I had, or my friend had, in one of their holes. And, nah, that's not even a story I'm going to tell because it's scarring, frankly. Absolutely scarring. And so we're on to the last bedroom. This bedroom has only one window, and I'm pretty sure I put something in front of that window, and so there's probably no natural light in it. Apologies. However, it is very, as far as I'm concerned, and should I be allowed to toot my own horn, as it were, quite proud of. I feel like this room is grungy enough and dull enough with all of the really desaturated colours that it fits exactly that punk rocker rising star sim that is meant to live in this rising star apartment for Get Famous. There we go. Smashed it in one. I managed to link the title with the sim and the apartment and did the thing. And there we go. I think that's how a YouTube is done. Am I right? I believe I'm right. Let me know again down below. I feel like the number of people who I've heard say, let me know down below, and I've always had a problem with it, and yet here I am saying it. That's just how this world works, is it not? Right, we have reached the end of the video, and I have tried this sign off about 3 or 4 times, and I still can't seem to get it right. So I will just say, genuinely from the heart, thank you so much for watching all of this, and I'd love to see any support in the future. It would mean the world to me if you could smash that subscribe button, hit that bell, and see me in the next video. For now though, folks, look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time.